In today's video, we delve into the dramatic shift in federal climate policy under the Trump administration, exploring how it led to the erasure of vital green progress. From the abrupt withdrawal from the Paris Agreement to the suspension of renewable energy projects, the administration took significant steps that impacted the future of environmental regulation in the United States. We'll discuss the declaration of a national energy emergency, the freezing of federal clean energy funding, and the promotion of fossil fuel extraction through key appointments in government. Join us as we uncover the intricate changes and their far-reaching implications for our planet's health and sustainability. 1. Withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. In a move that sent shockwaves through the global community, President Trump signed Executive Order 14,162, marking the immediate withdrawal of the United States from the Paris Agreement. This landmark international accord was designed to combat climate change by curbing global greenhouse gas emissions. Trump's decision to pull out of this agreement underscores a significant shift in U.S. climate policy, prioritizing economic growth over environmental stewardship. Critics argue that this withdrawal not only diminishes America's role on the world stage but also undermines years of collective efforts to address climate change. The decision has been met with mixed reactions domestically, with some applauding the focus on national interests, while others warn of long-term ecological consequences. This bold move signals a clear departure from previous commitments to global environmental cooperation. 2. Declaration of a national energy emergency. In tandem with the withdrawal, President Trump declared a national energy emergency, a move that expanded his administration's powers to fast-track fossil fuel development. This declaration allows for the acceleration of permitting processes, clearing the way for new oil, gas, and coal projects. The administration argues that these measures are necessary to ensure energy independence and bolster the economy. However, environmentalists express grave concerns that this prioritization of fossil fuels could lead to irreversible environmental damage. By focusing on fossil fuel development, the administration aims to create jobs and reduce energy costs, but the long-term impact on the environment remains uncertain. This declaration aligns with the administration's broader agenda of energy dominance, potentially setting back renewable energy advancements. 3. Suspension of renewable energy projects. In a controversial move, the Trump administration has suspended federal approvals for wind energy projects and frozen funding for solar initiatives. This shift in focus from renewable to fossil fuel energy sources has sparked widespread criticism among environmental advocates. The administration contends that prioritizing fossil fuels is essential for economic growth and energy security. However, this suspension is seen by many as a setback for the renewable energy sector, which had been gaining momentum in recent years. The decision to halt these projects could stall advancements in clean energy technology and hinder efforts to combat climate change. This shift away from renewables also raises questions about the future of energy sustainability in the United States. 4. Reversal of environmental regulations. The Trump administration has initiated a comprehensive rollback of various environmental regulations, including those aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and protecting clean air and water. These regulatory changes are intended to alleviate burdens on businesses and stimulate economic growth. However, critics argue that these rollbacks could lead to increased pollution and environmental degradation. By dismantling these protections, the administration is prioritizing short-term economic gains over long-term environmental health. This reversal of policies marks a significant departure from previous efforts to safeguard the environment, raising concerns about the potential impact on public health and ecosystems. The move has sparked debate about the balance between economic growth and environmental responsibility. 5. Freezing federal clean energy funding. The Trump administration has issued executive orders to pause funding from significant legislative acts like the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. This freeze extends to federal grants and loans related to clean energy projects, effectively stalling progress in this sector. The decision is seen as part of a broader strategy to shift focus toward fossil fuel development. Critics warn that this pause in funding could hamper innovation and delay the transition to a more sustainable energy future. By freezing these funds, the administration risks losing momentum in the clean energy sector, which had been a growing area of economic and technological advancement. This decision highlights the administration's commitment to traditional energy sources over emerging renewable technologies. 6. Dismantling federal climate policies. Federal climate policies have been put on hold, casting doubt on the United States' ability to meet its emissions reduction targets. The suspension of these policies represents a significant setback for national and international efforts to combat climate change. This move aligns with the administration's focus on energy dominance and economic growth, often at the expense of environmental considerations. Critics argue that dismantling these policies undermines decades of progress in addressing climate change and could have far-reaching consequences for the environment. The halt in climate policies raises questions about the United States' commitment to global environmental goals and its role in the fight against climate change. This shift in priorities reflects a broader trend toward deregulation and reduced government intervention in environmental matters. 7. Reducing climate finance assistance. Internationally, the United States is expected to reduce climate finance assistance to vulnerable nations, impacting global efforts to combat climate change. This reduction in support could hinder the ability of developing countries to implement sustainable practices and adapt to climate impacts. The decision reflects a shift in focus toward domestic priorities, potentially straining relationships with international partners. Critics argue that reducing climate finance assistance undermines global cooperation and the collective responsibility to address climate change. The move raises concerns about the equity and fairness of the global fight against climate change, as vulnerable nations may be disproportionately affected. This reduction in assistance underscores the administration's emphasis on national interests over international collaboration. 8. Merging USAID with the State Department. Plans to merge the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, with the State Department have been announced, potentially affecting international environmental aid programs. This merger is intended to streamline operations and improve efficiency, but critics worry it could dilute the focus on environmental and climate initiatives. The consolidation may lead to reduced funding and support for international efforts to combat climate change. By merging these agencies, the administration aims to create a more cohesive foreign policy approach, but the impact on environmental aid programs remains uncertain. This move reflects a broader trend toward restructuring government agencies to align with the administration's priorities. The potential effects on international environmental aid programs highlight the challenges of balancing efficiency with the need for targeted support in combating climate change. 9. Promotion of fossil fuel extraction. The Trump administration is actively promoting fossil fuel extraction by opening up more land and waters for drilling and mining. This push for increased extraction aligns with the administration's energy dominance agenda, prioritizing economic growth and energy independence. However, this expansion often comes at the expense of environmental protections, raising concerns about the potential consequences for ecosystems and public health. The administration argues that this approach is necessary to secure America's energy future and create jobs. Critics, however, warn that the long-term environmental impact could be devastating, with increased emissions and habitat destruction. This promotion of fossil fuel extraction underscores the administration's commitment to traditional energy sources over renewable alternatives. 10. Appointment of fossil fuel industry leaders. The Senate's confirmation of Chris Wright, a fossil fuel executive, as the United States Energy Secretary, is a clear indication of the administration's alignment with the fossil fuel industry. This appointment reflects the administration's commitment to its energy dominance agenda, prioritizing fossil fuels over renewable energy sources. Wright's background in the fossil fuel industry suggests a continued focus on traditional energy extraction methods. Critics argue that this appointment could hinder progress in the transition to cleaner energy alternatives. The choice of a fossil fuel executive for this key position highlights the administration's priorities and raises questions about the future direction of U.S. energy policy. This appointment is emblematic of the broader trend toward favoring fossil fuels within the administration's energy strategy.